What philosophers would say to our times, echoes of Rome. In his long eulogiac poem, the natural things, Lucretius provides a very unsettling, I think, version of humanity. Unsettling if you're brought up in the standard, Platonic, Aristotelian, really, I suppose, view of the world in terms of things and souls. If you're with Richard Dawkins then and thinks that it makes sense to say, if evolution isn't in the interest of humans, it must be in the interest of some thing. If things float your boat, if you live in a world of souls, of defined essences, then Lucretius is the ultimate challenge to that view. That view, that with another head on, I would argue, is one of the great scourges of Western thought. That fixation with souls and judgment that come with it is directly challenged by the kind of philosophy, the Epicurean philosophy, that was the meat and bread of Lucretius. You see, he presents an image where humans are just made of atoms, and ancient atoms fall to the centre of the world. Heavier atoms, I'm afraid, fall faster. And they just tumble down and tumble down and tumble down until the miracle happens. At some point, there's a clinamen, a swerve, a movement up or a movement sideways that sends those atoms that would otherwise tumble through the void into ricochet, one with the other, caught. And thus ricocheting, the big ones form an earth. The smaller ones, the lighter ones, form the air. And the lightest of all, they enmesh themselves inside bodies and become what we would call our natures. So our nature is nothing we own. It's nothing even fixed. Because the finest atoms come to our body and the finest atoms leave our body. Who and what we are shifts. We're not one set of them, but myriad sets across the course of our life. All we need is them setting the bigger molecules of our body jingle jangle going. We cannot say then, I am this, or you are that. Merely that we are an amalgam of so many things, caught one to the other. Nor is our perception our own, but rather the things that you perceive are like films that fly off the far distant sun, or the trees, or the fields, and fly straight into your eye, and there set your soul a-jangling. You are then like a glass harmonica. Somewhere a glass is rubbed, and the glasses in your soul reply their echo. An echo chamber that exists for a while, that does not even have memory. For Lucretius suggests memories are just those films that flew off at a certain time and have flown round the world until involuntarily they enter your head, sometimes hooked with other memories, and so a unicorn combines horses with the horns of bison. For these films have adventures of their own. What is remarkable then about this vision is several things. First of all, it is worth pointing it out again and again. There is something deeply spiritual in this atheist vision, in that human will, Lucretius would say, it only exists insofar as we are a host to clinamen of our own. You see, within this world of tumbling and of atoms, everything is fixed. Everything is predetermined. But yet, it's predetermined because atoms are already moving as they are. And as they move, you cannot decide what they do. And yet, in your nature, in those fine atoms that make you, there can be that least swerve that ultimately creates and recreates the universe itself. So what it is to have free will, and what it is for the universe to recreate itself, and to create itself differently, afresh, to give itself a different beginning. They're one and the same thing. In a sense, then, our ability to change our mind, to shift, to make opinions, to do unexpected things is the very power that the gods would have had if they existed in Lucretius to make the world itself. It turns, then, the very lack of gods, the very lack of souls, into a responsibility. We are part of the process within which creation is itself created. And that is a thing that is always worth remembering. Secondly, Lucretius, of course, then, and in a very explicit set of arguments on pleasure, says there's nothing special about men and women. Men don't have special pleasures, women don't have special pleasures. People who swap roles, because that was very common in his particular bit of Rome, there's nothing wrong with that. Because there are no souls. Because there is no laws of identity, laws where men must be this and women must be that. It's just the fine movements of spirits. Condemning, then, is pointless. One must learn to move beyond those burning movements of anger in your mind. One must learn to accept that others have other pleasures and just leave it at that. It does not matter in the end. It does not hurt you. In a world, then, beyond agency and subjects, it's not just that you don't choose who you are, it's that what you are constantly is in flux, changing, evolving, swerving as the world is recreated and as it creates the world around us. Lucretius would, of course, then have no time for modern arguments against trans identity. No time at all. It's just another invention of the soul. Nor would he have any time for any atheism that demanded that there's a self that must exist and then is lost in death. That minds come before thought, for instance. All of that, he would say, is just air. What matters is just the movement of atoms and the fact that we remain forever part of nature. He takes then a very strong position, a position that is actually quite hard in our post-Platonic, post-Aristotelian Christian world to remember. For it is the position where you don't need souls at all. It was Nietzsche, who was a scholar of Lucretius and Epicurus, who said that humans, after they don't believe in God, will carry on pointing to his shadow. They'll believe all the things that God gave them and damn themselves by it, because they will force their morality as if God still was, as if there still was an arbitrary judgment by some tyrant in the sky, as if they had to be this or they had to be that, when they forget that they no longer have to be anything. And Lucretius, untouched by that demand for single existence, presents then a totally different vision of the world. Finally, for me, just speaking personally, in a world where a lot of my political actions and my activism, I'm not sure ever worked. In the end, I think they probably made the world more right-wing, more difficult. I end up thinking that Lucretius' vision, that you can't change the world directly, or if you can't change the world directly, and certainly Lucretius thought you couldn't, then there's something else you could do. You could change your own world. You can learn moderation. You can live in a garden and be careful and teach others to be careful, to look after what they have themselves, their friends and their spirit and those that they know. And moving beyond that, if you can show everybody that that is what you must do, then the world changes. He preaches then a kind of militant separatism. The great world of politics is something that you cannot change. And if you try to change, you're only going to make worse. Rather, you have to activate activate your very quietude, to make it matter, to make it politically important. Because only then can you actually start to change the world. Like him or be unsettled by him. Lucretius reminds us of an important truth. You either have if you are going to attempt to live a world beyond God, you've got to live beyond identity. If you're going to live in a world with gods, then you're going to live with something arbitrary and judgmental. And in the end, you have to choose what you want to do. Give up identity and embrace all the wonder of creation echoing in your soul, or keep it. Keep your arbitrary gods and your desire for men in charge.